Hello, everyone. This is Ed Dentzel, host of Unfound. I wonder if you will consider becoming a supporter of this YouTube channel. By pressing the join button below, you can receive, for just 10 cents a day, the video version of the podcast a day early, the Unfound Now episodes a week early, daily video updates from yours truly, and cool emojis to use during the Monday night live show. Please consider it as you watch the following spectacular video. Thanks. The September 2022 Unfound newsletter. Hello, everyone. Surprise! The month is now September, but maybe you already realized that. If you've been busy sending your kids back to school, or maybe you're a teacher who's now having to get back into the swing of things, I can't believe a month has passed since I celebrated my birthday on August 1st. I have no idea where the time goes, but that's probably how things are when I'm so busy getting every Friday episode prepared. What went on in August? A lot. On the positive side, I won a couple more disc golf tournaments. That makes it 9 for my career. On the negative side, just at the time I finished one dental loan, I'm taking on another due to a cracked 22-year-old root canal. My freaking luck. Not cheap. And all while I'm sure we're all trying to avoid looking at our investments, our 401ks, and the food prices. All bad news there. But it is out of our control, so nothing can be done. Also, if you want to hear about the crazy ending to last week, you can listen to the Unfound Live episode from August 29th. It was a day for the ages. But really, I'm good. Dad's good. He's excited for Slippery Rock football to be starting. I'm excited for the football pick'em league to be starting. I won last year, and lots of cool things happening in September. So let's get started where I usually do. Upcoming episodes. September 2nd, 6th anniversary episode. September 9th, Cal Fleischman. September 16th, Paris Hobson. September 23rd, Bernard Rusness and Peggy Parmenter. Others I'm working on: Ebony Spears, Angela Hammond, Crystal Hall, Keith Mann, Leanne Wegge. First topic for this newsletter: 6 years. Really don't know if other podcast hosts make a big deal of their productions getting to the 1-year mark, the 2-year mark, the 5-year mark, whatever. As many of you know, I don't hardly listen to any other true crime podcasts, but many of you do. So do these others make as big a deal of it as I do? Now, I realize if others celebrate, they probably don't do it like I do. I write about it, I talk about it, I devote an entire episode every year to it. Surely nobody else is doing all that. But I think this all shows how happy I am to still be doing this after 6 years, because really, when I started, I had no idea how long it would last. I thought I could make it a year. Anybody can do anything for a year, right? But after that, everything was a huge question mark. Granted, in 2022, everything is not a huge question mark. Unfound now has a presence. A person cannot talk about missing persons cases and podcasts without mentioning Unfound. If you watch the interview I did with the guys at Locating the Lost last week, Travis admitted that Unfound inspired him to start that podcast. And he's not the only one. I gave pointers to the woman who started California Dreaming. I had many talks with Josh at Simply Vanished before he started, to name a few. After all that and more, I still feel so fortunate to be here. Make episodes, talking to guests, talking to you, the listeners, talking to criminal justice majors, getting messages from all of you, and I continue to insist that I never could have predicted any of it. Do the other hosts feel fortunate to get their podcast to 5 years, 6 years, 10 years? Probably. At least I hope they do. They are all in very lucky positions that have surely come from hard work and just never giving up. Another factor in this and how I treat every anniversary is probably the fallout from having failed so much in my life. Things never go quite the way I planned. And these things were not because I was lazy. They just never caught on. I gave those pursuits what I thought was enough time, Nobody cared, and that was that. What are some of those things? Drag racing, writing novels, writing screenplays, independent filmmaking, back to writing novels again, some political podcasting, don't get me started. Granted, I thought the work I was doing was excellent and notable. The public, not so much. And it was not for a lack of trying to get my work out there. Seriously, if you are reading the words or listening to the words of a guy who's been rejected by more people than anyone else you know. Publishers, customers, producers, financiers, supervisors, women. And I have to admit that I'm not sure I learned much of any of those failures. Yes, I know I was supposed to learn something, but really, I have to admit I didn't. Instead, and in retrospect, as if there was some great hand guiding me, if you believe in that type of thing, I needed to fail at all of that and learn nothing to make sure I never attempted any of that again. Why? Because my destiny was somewhere else, and that is Unfound. True, it's not a moneymaker. True, it's not the most popular true crime podcast. True, there are always things as the host I can do better. But for a sense of purpose, for a sense of importance, for a sense of accomplishment, for a sense of giving to others, for a sense of why am I here, Unfound is exactly what I needed. And I would like to think the guests are happy it came along as well. And I hope Unfound has made all of your lives better as well. 6 years, well, let's hope I make it to 7. Next topic, Unfound Live. Structurally, this is the biggest thing going on at Unfound right now. This is why I made the special announcement that came out a few days ago that appeared in your podcast feed. I want you to know what's going on, and I hope you will subscribe to the Unfound Live feed, which is now separate from the Unfound feed. This was the plan all along. Back in May, I came up with the idea of making Unfound Live the YouTube show, a podcast. In fact, this idea should have come to me some time ago, like when Unfound Live started in 2017, but it didn't. So at the beginning of June, the Unfound Live audio became part of the regular podcast feed on iTunes and elsewhere. And looking at the numbers, the listeners got used to the setup without any problems. Yes, the regular episodes still got more listens, but Unfound Live certainly performed well. And really, I have to tell you, I think the true crime community needs a news type of podcast. For example, that's basically all sports podcasts are. Hosts reporting and commenting on what's happening out there. Yes, some of them may be sports-specific, basketball, soccer, etc. Some of them are city-specific, Pittsburgh, Tampa, LA, etc. And in fact, many of them are even team-specific. Steelers, Yankees, United States men's soccer, national team, etc. True crime does not have this. And this will be the evolution that you will see with Unfound Live as it continues for the rest of 2022. Less of talking about me, although I love doing that. A little less of me telling everyone what is happening with Unfound. I might start including more of that in the actual Friday episodes and of course, in this newsletter. But Unfound Live will become a true news crime show. I'll talk about disappearances that occurred over the past week that caught my eye. I'll talk about any big trials going on. I'll talk about cold cases that got solved. For example, DNA being used to catch a murderer after 40 years. News such as that. And yes, I'll probably hit upon some other items. Crimes from history and such when the time allows. To me, not having something like this in a part of our culture that is so huge is just weird. And a true oversight. And I guess I would even go as far as to say that everyone has been so eager to cover that one case that they're going to get solved and get their podcasts on the map that all the everyday stuff has gotten ignored. I suppose I can include myself in this as well. There's nobody giving true crime followers an overview of this landscape. Going to start doing that on Unfound Live on the new podcast feed on Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, and all the other places. So please, go to your podcast app right now, search for Unfound Live, and subscribe. Next topic, schools. I have to admit that the Speaking at Universities plan has been going a little slow. Yes, I'll be going to at least 3 during the fall semester, but I would really like to up that number to 5 or 6. So what has slowed everything down? Well, the following will be mostly guesses, except for the first reason that a professor has already given me. Here's the list of my insights, and then I will expound on each. Number 1, no room in the curriculum. Number 2, the novelty of the request. And number 3, the attitude toward true crime podcasting. So number 1, no room in the curriculum. Yes, a professor told me this within the past 2 weeks. Do I think that she is lying? Lying? I do not. I want to stress that. I do not believe this professor is lying to me. In fact, that she told me this shows that she is telling the truth. Furthermore, she apologized and forwarded my contact information to the other criminal justice instructors. Then what exactly is going on? It's a long semester. How can there not even be one day to fit me in? I think we have to remember this. Being in education at any level over the past 2 years has been an unpleasant experience. For teachers, professors, for students, for parents, for administrators. And I'm not here to debate how COVID was treated by all of them. That's politics, and that's not what I do. Because of this, there's now at least a lot of pressure to get back on track. And unfortunately, there could be the belief that COVID or something could get in the way of teaching again. Thus, instructors want to make sure everything that is required to get covered gets covered. Well, the guy coming in to talk about disappearances, no matter how important the topic, could get in the way of that. Once again, just a guess. Next, number 2, the novelty of the request. Here's what I think I know. No matter how experienced a criminology professor is, not one of them has ever considered making disappearances a prominent part of instruction. How do I know? Because there isn't one course anywhere at any education institution that offers anything on missing persons. Nada, zero, zip. Why is that? Well, that could be a newsletter all on its own, but that's for another time. Anyway, so when a person comes along and says, hey, I have disappearance experience, I want to pass it along to your students, this is important, there could be some doubt from those same instructors as to whether what I know is needed and important. And if they really, really are clueless, they might think I'm just some kind of snake oil salesman, despite all the work I've done that is public for everyone to see and to hear. Furthermore, due to us all being humans and being wired all the same way at the genetic level, when we hear things for the first time about something where we believe we are experts, our knee-jerk reaction is to have doubt. And to be honest, these professors are the ones with the degrees and the doctorates. Many of them have real-world law enforcement experience like Dr. Telesco does. And they are all surely very proud of the work they've done both inside and outside their schools in relation to criminal justice. Then a guy comes along telling them that disappearances are important and need to be part of the education. And I've never been in law enforcement. So these are some of the obstacles to overcome. Not impossible. In fact, I've overcome them. But it certainly feels like every time I contact a school, it's always like the first time. There isn't any learning curve at all. That brings me to the third in this about schools. Third reason. The attitude toward true crime podcasting. True story coming. As all of you know, I live in Clearwater Beach, Florida, which is a small part of Clearwater, Florida, which in turn is really a suburb of the city of Tampa. Well, the University of South Florida has its main campus over in Tampa in Hillsborough County, about 35 minutes away. Big campus, big school, Division I in sports. Many accomplished people have gone there. And it has satellite campuses, including one here in Pinellas County, about 20 minutes away. And yes, they have a criminal justice program. Where is this going? This all seems like it would be a great situation for me. I'm local. I've covered disappearances in the Tampa area. I've lived here for 11 years. Really, if anyone should get to speak to criminal justice majors, that person should be me. The problem? A professor in that program has been very vocal. In fact, I think she's even written a book about how true crime coverage, news, podcasting has actually had a detrimental effect for the topic overall. The book is called Fear, Justice, and Modern Crime. You can look it up, buy it, and read it, and get back to me on what you think about it. No, I have not read it. So I ask you, do you think then that USF's criminology department would be open to a true crime podcaster speaking to students? Probably not. For the record, I've emailed this professor a few times. In fact, in one, I brought up the idea of doing a type of debate, point-counterpoint type of thing. I think she returned one of my emails very early on, like well before COVID happened, but has not returned any since, including one concerning speaking on campus. Granted, this is just one professor. And although I haven't looked, my guess is there is at least one other criminology professor somewhere in the U.S. who has written a book, a paper, a peer-reviewed article on the negative effect of true crime media on crime. Pretty sure. Once again, I haven't looked. What's the corollary to this? There aren't any criminology professors anywhere who have written anything positive about true crime podcasting. To me, this is even more important than the book the USF professor wrote. Yes, there may be communications professors and sociology instructors and technology educators who think true crime podcasting has been fantastic, but I'm not sure criminal justice people in academia feel that way. And I'm sure they don't feel that way in the real world, sheriffs, deputies, police chiefs, etc. Now, sure, there is Dr. Telesco and Dr. Holcomb, and I'll be speaking at a school for the first time in Lakeland, Florida. All fantastic schools and people. Now, the real funny part about the professor from USF is that I agree with the premise of her book. The fact is, a lot of true crime podcasting or programming is trash. It's clickbait. It's meant to give a certain percentage of the population their true crime fix. Yes, as if they were junkies. All true. The shows are meant to fill time. They aren't constructive. There's an audience for it, so the productions get done. This is true with true crime podcasting, too. What I'm saying is true crime podcasting has a stigma that I'm not sure you, the audience, realizes. I'm not saying you should care. However, for people who are involved with criminal justice, not because it fascinates them, but because it's their job, whether in a patrol car or teaching, true crime podcasting to them is like a late-night infomercial trying to sell the public a set of Ginsu knives. And really, true crime podcasting has earned that. With there being no penalties for joking about crimes and murders, for people actually drinking alcohol while doing their podcasts, by hosts showing up at CrimeCon when it is nothing but an entertainment convention. As you know, I avoid all of that. But when I'm contacting these schools, I'm sure this is the recipient's first impression, and it is certainly a hurdle I must leap. No doubt about it. What I'm saying is, if I were a retired FBI agent who had his federal pension, who was getting bored playing golf and lying on the beach all day, who had just cut the grass and shined up the car and hadn't worked on any type of crime or case for like 10 years, and then somehow got a bug up my butt about speaking to a bunch of students, I would have a much easier time getting to speak at schools than I do as a moral, ethical, law-abiding podcaster who takes his topic more seriously than anybody else on the planet. This is a fact. And this would be despite the fact that the FBI over the decades has done a lot of immoral, illegal, unethical stuff just like the true crime community has done. The difference, the FBI is the FBI and podcasting is podcasting. Really, do you think any school would really turn down an FBI agent for a speaking engagement who had worked on over 200 disappearances like I have? Of course not. Not whining. Hey, I know no one wants to hear a grown man whine or read one whine. All I'm doing is presenting you with my insight. That's what this newsletter is. And of course, I do that on the live show and on the update episodes as well. I think it would all work out eventually, but I've been talking about the presentation, so I'm sure you were wondering what's going on. Well, that's what's going on there. All I'm saying is I certainly believe I'm working against some things that have nothing to do with me or Unfound. It will probably work out eventually, just not as quickly as I thought. That's it for September. See you on October 1st. Thanks for reading and listening.